Welcome to the Broken Graciously podcast, where we challenge the culture of brokenness by exchanging beauty for ashes holistically with candid conversations, transparency, and practical tips. I am your host, Tanisha B. Lester, lovingly known as Coach T. I'm a Master Certified Life and Business Coach, Certified Christian Coach, Certified Pastoral Counselor, Certified in Women's Entrepreneurship, best-selling author, and speaker. This season is season 3. Welcome. We are tackling this season the issue of breast cancer and how survivors have navigated through their diagnosis, treatment, and life after diagnosis. So sit back, enjoy, be sure to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe to the podcast so that you're getting the notifications when new episodes drop weekly. Again, this is the Broken Graciously podcast. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Broken Graciously, where we challenge the culture of brokenness holistically with candid conversations, transparency, and practical tips. So, as you know, this whole season, we have been having conversations with survivors of breast cancer. Each woman that has come into the room has had a different form of breast cancer. And what we're doing is just shedding light and awareness while celebrating these survivors. So again, my disclaimer, we are not medical experts. We are not giving you medical advice. We are simply trying to shed light and bring awareness to the aspects of breast cancer, how it has affected the different women's lives, the awareness that they want to shed given their own concerns and experiences. And we just want to put it out there so that we as a community are becoming more aware. So today's guest is Miss Cynthia. Miss Cynthia is 60 years old. She looks fabulous. She lives in Delaware. She was diagnosed in 2021 with ductal breast cancer on her left breast at stage 1. So luckily she was able to catch it early. Now, Miss Cynthia's passion, her passion statement is that she loves to live life to its fullest. In addition to that, she loves to cook and she loves to entertain. Now that's my kind of woman right there. So let's welcome Miss Cynthia into the room. Welcome to Broken Graciously, Miss Cynthia.
Thank you.
So you told me that you have ductal breast cancer. First, let me give everyone a little overview of what that is. So it's ductal carcinoma in the presence of abnormal cells in the milk ducts of the breast. It's considered an early form of breast cancer. It's non-invasive, meaning it hasn't spread throughout the milk ducts and it has low risk of becoming invasive. All of this information is coming from the Mayo Clinic. So you can find all of this information at the mayoclinic.org. I always want to make sure I'm giving you factual information from reputable sources. So yes, it is an emergency to treat this type of form, but it's also one of the less invasive forms of it. So some of the symptoms are a breast lump, bloody nipple discharge, and they tell you to see a doctor if you feel any of that. If your skin is puckered, if the skin is unusual, if it's thickened in certain areas, whether it's around the breast, under the breast, or you have nipple discharge. So, Miss Cynthia, let me know or tell us how you came to discover that you had cancer and what you felt in the moment of being told that you were diagnosed with breast cancer.
I was doing my monthly exam on March 31st of 2021.
Okay.
Mind you, I already have cysts in my breast, so I know what they feel like. So I was doing my exam on the 31st. I felt something different. It was more like a horseshoe feel rather than a bally, if you will. So April 1st, that very morning, I called my GYN and told him I had a lump in my breast. They got me in that day. And he tested me and he said, yeah, we're going to send you over. to get other tests done. And I guess that was around mid-March. They told me that I had breast cancer. And then they went on to do more tests to find out what type it was, what stage I was, so forth and so on. But to answer your question, how you feel when you get that answer, you don't know whether you're going to live or you're going to die. You have
Absolutely.
no idea. And it was
Absolutely.
devastating. And it took me a while to tell people because I was lost. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know who to tell. Of course, I told my husband first. It took me a while to tell my mother because I didn't want her to get upset, and she's older. My mom's 81.
Okay.
And I didn't want her to just, she would have
Stress.
just, she totally broke down when I finally did tell her. But
Okay.
I didn't want her to tell her. I wanted to go through it with, so I could tell her I am now a survivor. But I went ahead and told her. I didn't even tell my family members until during treatment, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we came on the line, we were talking about, I briefly mentioned how that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about it, because oftentimes when we get diagnoses, we want to hide those things and keep it close to the breast and not, well, how ironically I just said that, keep it close to the breast. So we literally keep it, that portion of it, close to the breast, and we don't want to talk about it for different reasons. So you said for your mom, which is understandable, she's older, you don't want to push that stress on her and cause her to worry about you. So I can understand that. But you just said that you didn't tell other family members. If you can kind of explain like what your thought processes were as to why you didn't want to tell others, and would you change that now if you were diagnosed?
Um, I think if I was re-diagnosed, I would tell them now. But I didn't want everybody, I didn't want a bunch of phone calls. I didn't want a bunch of I'm sorry's. I don't even know really how to explain that. Just know that I have it and support me. You know what I mean? I didn't want them to,
Be you, or yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
understand. I
But
treat you like the victim. I can understand
right,
that.
exactly,
I can
exactly,
understand that.
exactly.
So here's what I'll say for others. If you're coming to a place where you have some sort of diagnosis, even if it's not breast cancer, and it's something that you may need to share, here's what I'll say. Communicate what your needs are in the moment. So yes, I'm telling you, but I don't want to be treated like a victim. I don't want to be, you know, babied or placated. Like I don't want any of that. I just need you to know that I have it. And
Hmm.
if you can support me from the background, that's fine with me, right?
Exactly.
So it's about communicating your needs, even in those moments where it's something you need to express, but yet you don't want all of their feelings that may come along with it. So just a just a way of being who I am and putting the coaching out there. So, um, how did your husband react? How did any of that come about? And then, we'll get into, you said it was devastating. And I know that can be traumatic, just in that aspect alone. Did it cause you to withdraw a little in relationships, or like just need to just focus on me right now and I can't worry about what everybody else has got going on?
It didn't really cause me to withdraw in relationships. Um, Me and my husband were always close, but it brought me even closer because one, I smoke.
Okay.
And he's been telling me for years, quit smoking, quit smoking. You're going to get cancer. You're going to get cancer. And I did. And I can't honestly say it came from cigarettes. Maybe, maybe not.
Right.
But, that was one of his things. And it really broke him down. It
Okay.
broke my husband down,
Okay.
and it's still breaking him down, even though I am a survivor and I am cured, I am cancer free.
Okay.
Actually, MD Anderson doesn't consider me cancer free till the 5 years after you finish taking those pills.
Right.
So I have 3 more years, but I am cancer free. But yeah, it broke him down, and he just, you know, says things to me every day like, I love you. I don't know what I could do with what I would do without you. It's brought us a whole lot closer, although we were very close. Don't get me wrong, we were very close, but you know, the chance of him losing me was, yeah.
It's a lot, yeah. Because he already had that fear in the first place, but
Yes.
thinking that it would be something like a lung cancer or maybe a throat cancer because of the actual smoking, that fear was already there. So then when the diagnosis actually comes, like it's a fear on a different level because it's like, oh my gosh, like this is really manifested, even though it's not what I may have thought it would have been. Like it's a different fear. So I can totally understand that, but I'm glad that it brought you guys closer and it gave you guys a better understanding of one another, and you were able to appreciate his perspective of you
Yes,
not
yes,
wanting you to smoke. Because
yes,
I think
yes, yes,
sometimes we can get in our heads like, oh, you just want to tell me what to do, and it's not that. They're just saying it out of a matter of concern and care and love. So I'm glad you were able to hear him finally.
yes, yes. And I understand. I really do.
That's good.
I
That's good.
really do. Yeah.
So
Yep.
let me just put out some risk factors. So she talked about the fact that she was a smoker. Now, that according to this website, it doesn't mention anything about smoking, but some of the risk factors are increasing age, personal history of benign breast disease such as atopical hyperplasia, family history of breast cancer, never having been pregnant, having a first baby after 30, having your first menstrual cycle before 12, beginning menopause after 55, and genetic mutations that increase the risk of breast cancer. And those breast cancer genes are the BRCA1 and the BRCA2. So those are some of the risk factors that you can assess yourself against in concerns of this particular form of breast cancer. So let's talk about some of the treatments that you had to go through. Were you susceptible or required to take chemo, radiation, any of those things?
I was required to take radiation. I was actually 2 points away from chemo.
Okay.
So my doctor, my oncologist, gave me the option of taking the chemo or not taking the chemo because it was only a 2 point difference. But I opted not to take the chemo. So I had aggressive radiation for 8 weeks. I had a
Did you?
lumpectomy first.
Huh?
I had a
Okay.
lumpectomy first. And then I went through the radiation 5 days a week for 8 weeks. Yeah. And that was a lot. It was
I can imagine.
yeah, it was, you know, every day me driving from Willingboro to Camden to MD Anderson every day. And I did that on my own. Nobody ever took me, and thank God I was able to do that. But
Absolutely.
after the radiation, my skin broke down terrible.
Okay.
A lot. First of all, I turned black, which everybody does. But then the peeling, the blood, the pus. I had to wear pads over my left breast all day for probably 4 weeks
Okay.
because it was so much oozing going on. And it was very, 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 very painful. Very painful.
Okay. Did
Yeah.
you I talked to one lady and she was saying how, her skin is still, she's still going through that, and she didn't know what to do with it, like, or what to put on it or anything. And then I talked to another lady and she said she used a lot of vitamin E. Um, what did you use in particular that you found helpful just in case someone is going through it and they're looking for methods that will help to ease the pain, the discoloration, the peeling, like, and kind of help facilitate that process?
Aquaphor, grease called Aquaphor. Is that the name of it? Aquaphor?
A lotion in that white bottle.
It's in a jar.
Okay.
Yeah, actually the hospital told me about it. And that's what I've been using. And I have been using. My color is back, actually. My skin color is back.
Great.
Yeah,
Excellent. Excellent.
yeah.
Excellent.
But I do have a pocket of fluid that will never go away. I can have it drained, but it will come back.
Okay.
But I have a pocket of fluid in my left breast. Also, the radiation shrinks your breast. So that one breast got shrunk opposed
You
to the
know,
other one.
yeah, that kind of lopsided look. Yeah, I guess that would be a concern. But sometimes, sometimes I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm what I say. I'm part of the IBTC because some of the women in my family, they're rather on the large side. So I
Hmm.
wouldn't necessarily be mad about that part. Um,
Yeah.
compared to when we and I, all jokes aside, compared to when we think about the fact that it could have been a situation where you had to have a mastectomy and have it all gone, right?
Right.
So when we weigh out not having breasts versus one being a little smaller than the other, I think I'm kind of gonna go with the smaller one. That's just me personally.
True. I was very large breasted. So what I did end up doing was it was a recommendation. I could have did it or I couldn't have did it, but I did do it. On the other breast, I had a reduction reconstruction to
Okay.
match because I was way off,
Okay.
way off.
Okay.
And it worked out. It worked out. Even though I'm still not the same size on both sides, I'm okay with it. I'm happy. I'm blessed. I'm cured.
Absolutely. And for those of you that are just listening to this, she has the prettiest smile on her face. And it's not just on her mouth, right? Because sometimes we can see people smile and it not connect with their eyes. And that's when you know what they're saying is not matching what actually is going on with them. Her eyes and her smile are incongruous and they're matching. Is a sparkle in her eye that is gorgeous.
Thank you.
So we've talked about that. Now, before we came on, I asked her a question. I asked her, is there anything that you want people to know about you that you did not tell me? And she went on to say something else, and I had to pause her. Now, I don't remember what you started saying, but I had to hold her there because it was something that needed to be said within the context of the podcast and while recorded versus on the backside where it was just her and I in the quote unquote green room. So if you could go back to that,
Okay. I
let's get
feel
that recorded.
oh, okay. I feel as though they do not do enough research on Black women. Uh, we have things going on that they don't have going on. For
Absolutely.
example, yeah, going out in the sun, uh, I start itching, and it's like a itchy, burning feeling. And I asked the doctor who did my surgery for the lumpectomy, why is that happening? She said, oh, well, that has nothing to do with radiation. That has nothing to do with the surgery. That has nothing to do with cancer. I'm like, okay. So then I saw the radiologist, and she said the same thing as the doctor that did the surgery. So when I seen my oncologist, she told me it was the pills that I'm on that are making me do that.
Okay.
So, you know, if they did the research, all three doctors should have been able to tell me the same thing, not just one. That's why I say they don't do enough research. And I'm sure there are other things going on with other women that they have no answers to or for because
Mhm.
they're not doing the research on us, particularly.
Absolutely. And that's twofold, right? So number one, now I can sympathize with you on the skin burning, right? Because on two areas. One, my mother has lupus and the skin burns, I mean the sun burns her skin. So like
Right.
our cars are tinted out and so if it's high sun, like she puts on long sleeves or something, or make sure that we go out with sunblock on. Because it's a misconception that black people don't burn. That's a lie from the pits of hell. I burn.
Yes.
I peel just like everybody else. That sun tears me up. I'm sitting here right now with my on my arms, right on my right, just below the bend of my arm and on my wrist. When the sun hits those areas, if I don't have sunblock on, I rash. I'm sitting
Mhm.
here right now from being in the sun yesterday when I went out and I forgot to put the sunblock on. I have a rash now. So
Yeah.
and that's it. I'm not saying it has anything to do with medicine in that particular case. However, there are some of things that affect us that may not affect another race or gender, or like, I mean, color.
Absolutely.
Like that's just what it is. So
Yeah.
so that's one thing. The other thing I'll say is, as far as research, they don't do enough research on us, number one. But the caveat to that is also that we don't go for 'em. We don't go for trials. We don't go for experiments. We don't do that. Ever
Right.
since the Tuskegee trials, colored people are skittish as I don't know what.
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a dichotomy
Right.
here where we need the research to be done on us, but yet no one's willing to do it. So what do you want people to do? Like, we need it, but we're not going to do it. So, like, there's this whole big space of ambiguity where we'll never know because we won't do things. Like, we won't go to the trials, or we won't volunteer for the things that will give answers that we need for our community.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. You're right.
Well, that's a whole nother issue. And that's not even just with breast cancer. That's with, breast cancer, it happens to us disproportionately. Lupus is a disease that happens for us and Hispanic women and Asian women disproportionately, right? But without us going to trials for any of these diseases, the information will never be resourced. It will never come to fruition.
You're
So
right.
how do we get the word out? How do we advocate? How do we increase our participation in these trials? Until we
That
can figure that out, I think we're always going to have this same cycle being perpetuated, which is unfortunate.
hmm Yeah.
If you could do something, what would you do?
It's kind of hard, but I mean, if you can get a trustworthy Black doctor to do these trials for Black women, they may do it that way. But I mean, I don't know what else to say about that. But you're right, because I'm not one for trials, because I don't know what you're giving me and what's going to be a later on effect. You know,
Absolutely.
it's
Which,
hard.
that's so. Here's what I'll say for listeners: when trials are done, there's a control group. So you have those that are being given the treatment, you have those that are not being given the treatment, or you have what they call a waitlist effect. The waitlist effect is where they tell you you're eligible and you're going to get it, but they wait and see what happens to those that actually do get the treatment. You'll also hear terms like placebo, where they're just giving you a sugar pill or something, like just to they're giving you something to think you're getting something, but you're really not getting anything, right? So there's all of those spaces again of ambiguity. However, what they're supposed to do is, once that first control group has gone through that experiment, they're supposed to offer the other groups that same treatment.
Right.
I don't know if that's not being done. I don't know if that's what they are doing, but that's how it's supposed to work. They're also supposed to give you informed consent, whether it's written and verbal, to tell you exactly what is going on, what will be done, and that you will be randomly chosen to be in either of the groups. Now, having said that, you also have the opportunity to back out of any trial should you deem it no longer necessary or suitable for you. So, with that knowledge, feel free to try it. I mean, I don't want to give anybody fear of trying or going through trials, but Just want to give you that bit of information because that's what's supposed to happen. So if something deviates from that general construct that I've just given, then you might want to question it. But those are the things that they have to tell you. They have to tell you. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's not reputable research, and I wouldn't deal with it either.
Right, right,
So
right.
dig into those things when you look at it. That also speaks to, you just brought up literally a whole different topic of the lack of representation
Yes.
in the medical community for us. I can't tell you how many times in this last year I've changed doctors because I keep coming against these doctors that, number one, aren't listening to what I'm saying, or they're
Mhm.
discounting what I'm saying because it doesn't fit their thought process. Well, I'm
Right.
sorry. I know my body better than you know me. I've seen
Yes.
you twice, or even if I had seen you for years, I need you to be as good in your bedside manner with listening to others to listen to me, because only I can tell you what's going on. And from that standpoint, you should be able to dig, if that means you do a little research, to find out what's going on with me.
Right.
But don't discount what a patient is telling you that they're experiencing. And I think that's a lot of what's going on. We're trying to advocate for ourselves and get the treatment that we need without these doctors listening to what we're saying. We're not getting what we need.
Exactly.
Consequently, you have women that are, may have been at stage 1, but now it's going on and now it's stage 2, 3, and 4, when this could have been caught earlier had you just merely listened to what the client was saying. Like,
Absolutely.
so
That is so true.
how do we, this took a whole different conversation, like how do we just encourage our kids to go be doctors, to it's that generation that needs to be in that field and now.
That is
And I
true.
mean across the board. I'm not just saying for gynecology, like I mean in the medical field itself, because we're
Yeah.
we're underrepresented.
Yeah. That is true. That includes lawyers too. Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Lawyers and
yeah.
judges. Yep, lawyers and judges. Hmm.
So how, I don't know, how do you see advocating for yourself when you go to doctors and stuff? Because here's what I've learned. I live in Georgia. Now when you think about Georgia, you think about good old boy state, right?
Yes.
What I've learned is, especially in my town, the doctors here and the people, they listen to what the doctor says and it's gospel, right? Even if it goes against what you're feeling or what you know to be going on in your body, it's gospel. They don't question things. Whatever the doctor said, that just has to be it. If it doesn't seem right or feel right to you, they don't question anything. I literally go over an hour away to Atlanta to go to the doctor
Wow.
because I no longer trust what the doctors here say. Because again, they don't listen to me, they don't hear me, they discount what I'm saying, and then they want to act like I'm crazy. And then they stereotype all of us.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then when you question them, now you're hostile. I'm merely trying to make sure I get what I need. I
Hmm.
should have the freedom and the ability to question what you're telling me to do. How do
Yeah.
you feel about advocating for ourselves in any form, whether it's with breast cancer or any doctor, period?
That's hard. I don't know. I am in a support group and we do talk about things like that, but I still don't have an answer for that. I really don't. But we talk about that.
Right? don't know. Like it really, it scratches my dander. It really does.
Yeah.
Literally last week, my mom is on this particular medication, and there's certain things that she can't take, like as far as vaccinations. So she goes to her primary, and it's like live vaccines, right? So like COVID shot and things like that, she can't take. She goes to her primary, and they tell her she can take this particular shot. I'm like, Mom, don't listen to that lady. You better call your rheumatologist, the one that prescribed this medication, and make sure, because I don't trust nothing these people down here say.
No.
True enough, she did, and what her rheumatologist told her was, I'm glad you didn't take it, because had you taken it, you would have been really, really sick.
Wow.
But
So
again, she didn't listen to the fact that my mother told her, hey, I'm on this medication and it says I'm not supposed to take these. Oh, yes, you can. You came here for my expertise. Right, right, indignant.
and these are all doctors.
Hmm.
Wow. Wow.
I think that's a
I,
problem.
that's a major problem because she could have been sick versus not.
Hmm. It
Yeah.
was it was her advocating for herself and
Yeah.
knowing and reading, right? Because how often do we get prescriptions and we don't read the leaflet with all the information on it? That's
Often,
one
very
way that we
often.
can advocate for ourselves. Make yourself aware of what you're taking. Know what you should or should not be taking with these various medications. Know what side effects are. Because if another doctor tells you, hey, you could take such and such, you're like, no, that paper said I shouldn't take that. Right? But
Right.
you didn't read it, so you don't know. So you're
Right.
taking it, and now you have some other effects going on, and it's like, well, how did this happen?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot. So you talked about the support groups. So um yeah, let's talk about that. How imperative, how essential was the support groups to your healing and your recovery?
It was amazing, actually. I needed that. Um, I almost didn't start going. I don't know if I tell you the young lady who started Anitra Bay, you may know who I'm talking about. She started it all. She's the one that got us together and said we needed a support group. And once we started that support group, the information that I got, what I learned, everybody's story is different. It was amazing. It did me good. It gave me knowledge. It it was just great. I mean, I can't say enough about that for real. The
I,
support group helped me something terrible. And that's also when I realized when you asked me, would I tell my family again if the cancer came back or something like that? Yes, I would. And it's because of that support group. It's because of that support group. It brought me out. It gave me information. So yeah, it was very essential. Very.
and see, she ain't tell me she started the support group. She ain't tell me that.
She
She
started
she
that.
she withheld that little bit of tidbit of information right there.
Yeah.
But and I think number one, I'm glad that you were able to step out of yourself and your comfort zone to go ahead to join the support group, because I
Hmm.
think it's essential when you, first of all, I think we can get so caught up in our heads and feel like it's just us and we're alone in a situation,
Hmm.
not realizing that there are other people and they can help guide you because they've either already gone through it, they're currently going through it, or they're coming behind you, right? So there's all those dichotomies of that healing process, and we often discount what other people can contribute because we're so caught up in our own heads. And
Yes.
it's important to not feel alone in any diagnosis or issue. And I think that's where we a lot of times get caught. So I commend you for that, number one. And I think the not wanting to tell can be detrimental. And I say that because there's so many women that have that gene that it can be passed down from. And I'm speaking about not just breast cancer, I'm talking about cancer, period.
Yes.
Because it could be something in the family line. Now, it may have skipped 2, 3 generations. It's
Hmm.
possible. But if this one person has it and then they don't tell, then no one else knows, and they don't know how to be preemptive in getting care. And not being preemptive can lead to it being further along in the stages than it
Right.
had been or could have been if somebody would have just opened their mouth.
True.
Well, I think that's, if there's nothing else that comes out of this season of podcasting episodes, that we got to stop being quiet. We
Yes.
just got to stop being quiet, because it's not serving us as people, and it's not serving us as a community as a whole. It's ridiculous. That's just my thought on that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know. that whole piece right there, I can get on the soapbox about. Um, because where my mind goes back to other things. My mind goes to other issues. Like, do, you're in that same generation of what goes on in this house stays in this house.
Right.
I'm in that same category. Like, you didn't talk about stuff, you didn't know stuff because mama and them and big mama and them, that everybody kept their mouths closed.
Yeah.
But it's perpetuated such cancer, if you will,
Yeah.
in our community.
Yeah.
And then what that's done is produced a bunch of broken, unhealed mess.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can, if we compare and contrast our community to other communities, a lot of that stuff doesn't go on. I mean, some of this stuff goes on. I'm not saying it's solely our communities, but if people just talk,
Yeah.
some things could be rectified. Some things
Yeah.
could be stopped. But
Yeah.
that's just not what we like to do. I
No.
understand it.
Yeah. But the support group brings out a lot of talking.
Okay.
You know, it really does. I found out my next door neighbor, breast cancer. My neighbor across the street, breast cancer. My cousin down the street, breast cancer. And this is what brought it all out. You talk, you find out. Yeah.
Then now that gives me another question.
Uh-huh.
So how do I put this? Um, I've kind of sort of not found, but and I haven't done the research on it, but in some areas, like there's cancer clusters
Mm-hmm.
where you'll find different
Excuse me.
people or various people in a same area, and there's some environmental factors that are coming into play as to why all of these people in this same particular area are getting cancer.
Yeah. But lo and behold, we're all from different places. One's from New York, one's from, I forgot what town what state she was from. I'm from Jersey, but I live in Delaware. You know, so I, but you're right about the clusters. And I contribute that to those, I don't know what you call those towers they be building.
Cell towers, it's
Yeah,
the cell towers, it's um like environmental waste in certain areas, like when you have these factories that are dumping things in water or putting pollutants in the air, like in those areas you'll find clusters of people who have cancer.
Right.
I was watching and I don't remember the name of this documentary, but I was watching a documentary, and this lady literally just walked down her street with the guess he was the host of the show, and she was just pointing to all the houses on her street. If her street was 5 blocks long, like every two, every maybe three houses, she could tell you who was in that house that either currently had cancer or had died of it.
Woo.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, just this one street. And then she was saying, okay, well, not just my street, but 2 blocks this way is this house, and a block that way, and another 2 blocks that way is these particular.
Mm-hmm. I remember a movie similar to that. Bro, bro, ah, I know it's BR something, and she solved it. Is that what you're talking about?
It wasn't a movie, it was actual
Oh, okay.
documentary, but I don't
Oh, okay.
remember
Okay.
what it what it was like. It's live and factual in this particular
Okay.
area that she lived in. I don't recall all of
Mhm.
those details, but I just remember watching that portion where she was walking down the street and just literally pointing out the different houses. And I
Mhm.
thought, wow, that's
Mhm.
crazy. Like,
Yeah.
so many of her neighbors are just dead from cancer. Like, it's a
Yeah.
whole cluster.
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
was just interesting
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
Um,
That movie was true too.
yeah, yeah, that was interesting. So, what are some practical tips that you could give those listening, either pre-diagnosis, during your treatment? Yeah, let's go with those two first. Pre-diagnosis and during your treatment.
Well, the pre-diagnosis is definitely do your monthly breast exams. It don't even have to be monthly. Do it weekly. Because had I not been doing that, I would have never known. I just happen to feel something different. Okay. And the other thing is during treatment, just be strong, man. Just be strong, go through it, think positive. You got to be positive. You have to have a positive attitude through it all. Just be positive and say, I am a survivor. I am a survivor. Be determined.
Did you find faith play a role in your recovery?
Yes, I shouldn't have hesitated when I said that, but yes, of course. Yes.
I mean, I'm just asking because everybody's not of faith.
Yeah, oh,
Everybody's
I
is
definitely
not
am.
there.
Yeah, and I pray every day and I thank God every day. So, yes.
Absolutely, I think gratitude. We kind of discount the power of gratitude, because we can just get caught up in the everyday and taking things for granted, the little things of, being able to raise your arm without pain, or, being able to breathe, and, your chest doesn't hurt. So those little things, I think gratitude is amazing. Um,
Yeah.
so practical tips for living and life after cancer.
Listen, live your best life. Um, you were blessed to survive it, so do you. Do everything you want to do because you may not have another chance at doing that. You know, that's all I can say. I'm doing all I can. I'm taking trips, I'm going places. You say let's go, I'm going. Yes, I am. Yes, I
What's
am.
your what's your dream trip?
I'm doing those now. Like let me see. February I was in Cancun. November, 2 months from now, I'm going to Cabo. I've been on cruises. Um, we at least do out of the country twice a year. And I love all inclusives rather than the cruises. I don't even like the cruises anymore, but I am due for a cruise.
So if you could
Yeah, but
go anywhere,
traveling.
if you
Go
could
ahead.
go anywhere in the world,
Mm-hmm.
all expenses paid, uh, shopping money, like all of that, where would you go?
You know, I would go to Spain only because I was born there and I left when I was 6 months old and never been back. So I know nothing about it. So
Okay.
that would be Spain.
Okay. You
That would definitely be.
military.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So my give me your final thoughts, and then I'm gonna ask you my final question. And we'll go from there.
My final thoughts are I appreciate you doing this. This is well needed for lots of women, especially when they don't have support. Um, this is great to get it out. I hope people listen, do those breast exams, go to the doctors, and read the fine print.
Yeah.
Like you said, as far as, whether you should or shouldn't do this or that, read the fine print. But, and thank you.
Thank you
You're a
for
blessing for
coming.
doing this. Yeah.
I
Thank you.
appreciate you. So my
Yeah.
final question is, when you hear the words broken graciously, what does that mean to you?
I was trying to figure that out because I was trying to figure out why is it broken graciously. But what I get from it is you're broken, but you're gracious with it. It's not. Hmm. See, you got me stumbling over my words and everything. Um, you what's the word I want to use? Forgive me. You're broken, but you're just you're going along with it, not in a harsh way, but I can't find the word I want to use. I'm sorry. Well, we all know what gracious means, so uh just going along graciously, with being broken.
So you want me to tell you what it really means?
Please.
So, as I said in the intro, but when we think of the word broken, right, and it's used often, we think of people that are unhealed, we think of issues, we think of challenges, we think of all of those things, and there's a negative connotation on it. When I put the graciously on it, it was through prayer, and asking God, like, what does this mean? We look at brokenness from a negative standpoint. When brokenness isn't negative, it doesn't have to be negative. Being broken is the act of God putting you where He needs you to be, because what is broken in you can help heal someone else. So, all of the things that I went through that caused me to be broken has been the very things that has allowed me to help other women. Because when I felt like I was alone and nobody understood, and I dealt with a bunch of shame and a bunch of guilt from being a sexual abuse survivor, I didn't talk about it because I didn't want the stigma, I didn't want the looks, I didn't want the chatter, I didn't want any of that, because you already feel bad enough in yourself that you don't need all that stuff coming from somebody else.
True.
When you can figure out and understand that you're not alone, it's when the beauty of it comes, right? That's when it turns from something negative to something gracious. Because when we
Yeah.
think of grace, right, we think of poise, we think of class, we think of, just being your authentic self and
Yes.
moving along with ease and all of that. So that's where the broken graciously came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes a whole lot of sense because when you get that diagnosis, you definitely are broken. And then the graciousness comes along with it. Yes.
You were graciously
Understood.
supported.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank
And
you.
then what I also find is the biggest thing, the very thing that you feel shame, guilt, fear about, or talking about, that's healing for someone else. And that could possibly lead to your passions and your callings.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much, Miss Cynthia, for this wonderful conversation, for your insight, for your heart. I am glad that you are on the other side of this. I'm praying and trusting God to continue to heal you and to get you over that 5 year mark, that these next 3 years will be smooth without incident. And you will just matriculate through life doing your passion of cooking and traveling and, entertaining all the people with that beautiful smile.
Thank you.
So I want to thank you for
Amen.
taking your time to come hang out with me and have a conversation. I really, really appreciate that.
Yes. Thank
So
you.
thank you. So listen, everybody. Again, this has been another episode of Broken Graciously, where we challenge the culture of brokenness holistically with transparency, candid conversations, and practical tips. You've already heard the tips that Miss Cynthia has given, so go do your due diligence and do your self checks. I will see you all on the next episode. Thank you for tuning in to the Breaking Graciously podcast. Stay tuned for weekly episodes. Follow me on IG at Tanisha B. Lester and the number 1. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Blessings.